In this tutorial in Cyberlink Power Director, we're going to look at some common mistakes that editors make when they assemble a slideshow. Most of us have seen slideshows that were totally forgettable. They didn't leave any kind of impact at all. I've designed a 38-second slideshow that is really terrible. When you watch the following slideshow, I'd like to ask you to see how many things I placed in it that did not help it become something useful. We're going to look at some of these mistakes and others in this tutorial to see if we can avoid some of the ways in which a slideshow turns into really something that's a waste of time. So please look at the following clip and look for all the mistakes that are part of it, and then we'll continue our discussion. My guess is one of the first things you noticed in that slideshow was the music. And if I play a little bit of this, we notice we have a march. The march does two things that don't help the slideshow. First of all, it doesn't seem to fit the mood and the pictures of butterflies at all. And secondly, it draws attention to the style of music that it's part of. Oftentimes we can pick songs that we like or songs that we think our audience will like, but we have to be careful because sometimes even if the song is a fabulous song, the message will be conveyed more in the audio channel than the video channel. And what's showing on the screen will kind of be unimportant in the end. The choice of music is extremely important when it comes to slideshows. And I recommend choosing music that doesn't have something memorable itself within it so that people can see that as a way to help convey the message rather than a way in which it can overpower the message. The other element related to music is sometimes we define a slideshow as simply a series of pictures that also contain music. But the question is that all it is? If that's all it is, it's probably not going to convey anything powerful to the audience. Another thing you saw in that example, as bad as it was a little bit of everything. Now, this is often something that happens when you have lots of people in your slideshow. If you do this for a company, a firm, if you do it for a group of people who are working together on a project, the tendency is to make sure that you get a picture of every single person who was involved in the project, every stakeholder, every volunteer. The more people, the better. You want to honor them. But the problem is when you have a slideshow that only consists of those pictures, it does not really tell a message. It's just a series of faces of people doing things at the same time, and the message is lost. The power of why they are there, what the purpose of what they are doing is completely missing in that kind of thing. And here we have all these pictures of these butterflies, and it doesn't give us any aid into figuring out exactly what are we looking at? Why is this important? What does it do? So a little bit of everything is not a good way to design a slideshow. Another problem related to that is the idea that more is better. And if you find that you have 50 slides, that's the size of your slideshow. If you have 150, you cram them in and tighten up the timing so you can throw in as much as possible. And when you do that, everything gets to be a blur after a while. And we get tired of watching scene after scene after scene that are just snapped together. Another thing you see in this example here is how we use transitions. They're interesting, but I've picked a different transition between each and every slide. And when you just do that for variety's sake to say, oh, this is cool, I'm going to show you a bunch of cool things, again, does that convey your message? Or is your attention to, oh, that was interesting, I wonder what the next transition is going to be? Will I like that? Will I not like the previous one? So we start getting our report card out on the novelty. And the novelty, again, can overwhelm the content. So you have to be very careful in your slideshow to make sure that when you use transitions, when you use any component, in fact, of Power Director, that it doesn't overwhelm your message. The other main problem I see often in slideshows is people define a slideshow basically as a photograph album. And when you get to a photograph album, you'll see slides like this. The pictures are posed. And the pictures don't really convey anything because a posed picture by nature is static. It doesn't tend to show energy. It doesn't show action. It doesn't show movement toward a goal or an objective. And in this case, fortunately, all the people aren't looking at the camera, but in most of them, they're looking straight at you, and it shows that they were there. It gives a record of their presence in history, but you feel like you're looking at a scrapbook. And another problem with these pictures, as well as with the ones that we have on our timeline, is nobody bothered to crop them. So we have a blank area on the left and a blank area on the right because they don't match the proportions of our finished video. So whether you're using pictures of people or anything else, when you just treat it like a photograph album, it's very hard to convey a message, to get someone emotionally and thoughtfully involved in the reason why you put the slideshow together in the first place. Another thing is avoid cliche slides. And here's what we have in our last one. Very much. We end the slide with a sunset. Now, it's a nice picture, but it really doesn't have anything to do with the focus of why we created the slideshow in the first place. In the comments, I'd like you to leave other observations you've made about slideshows and share with me some of the ways in which you have seen slideshows kind of fall off the rails and not really convey a message that is memorable or worth hanging on to. In the next tutorial, we're going to show you some best practices you can use to make your slideshows much better than average. So please give your comments on some of the wrong things that we tend to do when we build slideshows, and then join us next time for some ways in which we can improve the ones we're working on.